Yes, it is the meat and potatoes, and this is a show that is about performance broadly. But today, we're going to narrow our focus a little bit. We're going to shine the light on endurance sports. If you close your eyes and you envision your favorite events and the preparation that is necessary to get ready for them, I'm sure that the first things that comes to mind is maybe something like running across the finish line after an epic finish to a personal challenge, or perhaps the great training sessions that pushed you to the very limit, or wonderful outdoor adventures in the height of summer when you just feel like you're getting better and getting the benefits of the countryside. But the truth is that one of the critical elements of all levels of athletes, from pros to newcomers, that is necessary to take their current performance level and making a huge jump is far away from these experiences and memories. It's that no man's land that lies between the end of one year and season and the beginning of the next. We label it off-season. While athletes have events all over the year, if we think about it in terms of the middle of the bell curve, and in fact how we structure it mentally for the majority of our athletes, knowing that we have people having lots of different things going on, our guiding mindset at Purple Patch is that our off-season is mostly anchored around Q4, October, November, December, when we're thinking about our Northern Hemisphere athletes. And so that time from October the 1st until the holidays in the new year, Q4, that is our off-season. Now again, we have to tailor it for individuals, but if we take up the big fishing nets and grab all the tuna, that's where the majority of our athletes are. And it's a very unsexy time of training because most are trying to reset at that stage, rejuvenate, navigate holiday parties, do other fun stuff, focus on the family, embrace less rigorous training than they might apply than perhaps the month or 2 or 3 months that are leading into those big key events. And yet, it might be unsexy, but this is the time. This is the time. In fact, if I had to identify a single one element that is absolutely always present when I observe an athlete make a huge leap in performance from one season to the next, it is a smart and appropriate off-season. That is my number one pick across anything that I could do. Not a shift in diet, not a change in coach or training methodology. A smart and appropriate off-season is the number one thing, and I want you to listen to this carefully, that is always present. I have never heard or observed at least an athlete that has made a huge performance leap that has been sustained without an appropriate off-season. That's pretty compelling. That's pretty important. And so we want to dig into it today. And I'm going to do 2 things today. First, I want to ground us. So we're going to revisit some of the key goals of off-season. What should it look like? We're not going to get into the how today. That's going to come in subsequent sessions. But we should at least identify what does a good off-season look like broadly? What do I see as the important elements that you want to nail down? And then the main thrust of today is to look back and report my observations and insights from this season at Purple Patch. What did we notice from the athletes who did nail their off-season? What was the impact for them? And we're actually going to hear from a few Purple Patch athletes because for a part of the show, I actually reached out and said, give me your unbridled truth. How did off-season impact your life and performance? So as I mentioned, I'm not going to go into the structure and the approach of off-season. That's coming up in the following weeks. We're going to do subsequent shows on it. And of course, you have that performance webinar that I talked about September the 26th. But today, what I want you to do is I want you to buy into yourself. And I want us to establish the right mindset and approach and then commit to yourself. You want to nail down off-season. Then in the coming weeks, we can get more action focused and applied and start to actually put some rubber on the road to really make it a real thing. So in part 1, let's talk about off-season broadly. What makes a good off-season? Well, whether you're brand new to the sport or you're excited for the year ahead and you want to up level. Many people will always join a coaching organization. I want to take my sport to the next level. Or maybe you're finishing an arduous year of training and racing and you just feel like you need a break before going again for the next season. All of you need to realize that off-season is critical. And in order to nail off-season, you really want to have a lot of patience and you want to apply a smart setting. The good news is doing it right doesn't take up much physical commitment or even much cognitive load. In fact, as you're going to find out, it could be really confidence building and a whole bunch of fun. And so let me highlight a few of the key aspects of what I would label a smart off-season. Last year, so if we go back 12 months, we built a whole quarter, that Q4 off-season, around 3 simple words: foundation, skills, technique. That was our mantra, if you want to call it that. And that's really the umbrella, the guiding principles for what I want every athlete to accomplish. The first is I want you to have a whole bunch of freedom in off-season. And so I actually, quite deliberately, prefer to see athletes avoiding really obsessive training. I want to ensure that whatever your full capacity of training hours is, not total hours in your life, but whatever your workable capacity of training hours in any given week, you're not training up to that capacity. You're giving yourself room. So you're not over capacity, you're not driving the wagons, you're not right to the edge, you're giving yourself more space. I also want you, under the banner of freedom, to have a chance to go and play, try new things, be really present for work and family, easily be able to, guilt-free, hit the office holiday parties and all of the other stuff that you like to do. And so it's a pretty slow burn. It's pretty calm. I also want to ensure that you get some real rejuvenation. The driving mission of an appropriate off-season is for you to head into the new year on what we label the preparatory phase, the prep phase, pre-season if you want to call it that, really mentally engaged, excited for the year ahead, systemically and hormonally fresh, and incredibly healthy from a musculoskeletal standpoint. No niggles, no pains, no injuries. If we're in that place, then we're in a good part. And so, yes, isn't that just license? I have freedom, I drive other things, I do holiday parties, I want to be fresh, I want to be healthy. I can just go random, yeah? I can turn my back on structure. No, that is a grave mistake from a performance lens. Remember what I talked about. I've never observed anyone go to the next level, have a wonderful season without an appropriate off-season. And so I want to avoid you making that mistakes. Yes, I want you fresh. Yes, you benefit from doing other stuff. But there are some mission-critical pieces of training that simply cannot get missed. And the truth is that those mission-critical pieces of training simply will not happen in any part of the year. Period. It's not going to happen. And so for me, the off-season is the only time that you can fully dedicate and integrate the other parts of training that we're going to go into a little bit today. And I would say that if athletes don't commit to these key aspects that are foundational in athlete progression, they're never going to do them. They miss them. Performance suffers. The rest of their year is less positive. So what are some of those things? Well, the first is what I would label a foundation of tissue health and strength. What that includes is a really smart and appropriate dedication to strength training. Yes, that is an important component for an endurance athlete. In off-season, it gets catapulted to the bullseye. Very, very important. Second is a bunch of endurance activity that isn't hard, but prepares the body for the months ahead to be able to accept, absorb, and adapt the harder training that is looming. because we know that we need to train hard in the months ahead if we're going to go and have breakout performances. What we want to do in off-season is enough endurance activity to get the body primed to accept the training, absorb it, and be able to make the positive, effective physiological adaptations from that work. And so there is some easier endurance activity. Now, there's a broad range of what you can do under there, but that's a component. And the third component of that is if the athlete complies to this strength and does enough of the easier activity, just enough of the right work, what starts to occur in the off-season is their risk of injury drops dramatically. And the positive adaptations from the hard work in the months ahead is better. So they get more from their work, the bigger ROI. So there's a foundational element. There's the work, there's the foundation component of it. We're setting the body up, building the structure, getting the body so that in the months ahead, when you do turn up the volume, you do drive the intensity, the body's ready for it. So that's one key component, foundation. Now, this isn't hard. It's not dramatically time-consuming, but goodness me, it's important. The second component is technique. Remember our 3-word, foundation, technique, skills. Technique. So if we have lower training load, what that does is it opens the door to actually focus on your technique. Now, this can include aspects such as what we did last year, what we labeled swim school, led by our swim expert, Purple Patch coach John Stevens, where we went through and we did actually focus on some drills, on some technical elements, going to the pool and really working on improving your effectiveness and your efficiency in the swimming pool. You hear all about the power of drills, and I talk about how drills can be fool's gold that can extract people's mind away from needing to do the work. But in off-season, it is okay and appropriate to add in some drills over the course of swimming, running, and a little bit of bike riding, but we're going to come to that in a little bit. And so this is the time that we do focus on technique across the disciplines, actually getting better at doing what you love to do. And so over the course of these months, if you go on a progressive journey with this lower stress training where you are making technical improvements, then you've got a fighting chance of integrating and retaining that better technique as we start to build the training load. But it is almost impossible, and I would say impossible for a time-starved athlete, to train really, really hard and improve technique. And we need to train hard in the future, but now that we don't, this is the time that we can improve technique. And it's really fun, because we do it in a really simple fashion in which we can progress and make you improve. And so now we have 2 words. We have foundation, we have technique. The third component is critical as well, skills. Now, this is not the same as technique. What we're talking about here is starting to have you learn aspects such as terrain management, how to actually stand up on the bike, how to get the best speed return in running and riding, from going downhill and uphill, navigating the terrain and environment. Even in swimming, how to actually learn how to sight correctly so that whatever fitness you build in the swimming, you can actually apply it to open water by swimming in a straight line, by gaining awareness. And so skill development is something that is particularly rewarding, a lot of fun, and eye-opening for athletes. But without actually integrating it now, it's almost impossible to be able to focus on it when you're being asked to work very, very hard, do over distance, fatigue, inducing volume, integrating intensity and intervals, etc. And so do it now. The final component from a physiological standpoint is without all of the endurance necessary, we get to focus on one other physiological stimulus, a whole bunch of really high intensity, short sprints. And what that's about is raising the ceiling of your potential. So off season, we do get to do more work which is really fun, a fresh and different challenge, where we do short, high intensity. Now, this is not only about raising your potential as an endurance athlete, it's also incredibly healthy from a human being. Has a direct link to all the research shows it, to improve cognitive function, heart health, other aspects related to disease risk reduction, as well as longevity. And so this is a really important and healthy thing to do as a human being. It's also really good to do to shift the stimulus for you as an endurance athlete. The mission here, when we think about foundation, we think about technique, and then we think about skills, is for you to improve your potential for your speed relative to any fitness level that you're going to achieve over the course of the year ahead. So yes, in the months ahead, when we look forward to next year, we're going to want you to get very, very fit. We're going to build your muscular resilience, but you'll also, if you've done an appropriate off-season, you're going to have a toolkit to apply when you're going to get the best speed return possible. In other words, this is a low-stress, fun, really different suite of training that is going to be the key to unlock you getting more out of the fitness that you need to build in the year ahead. And this has massive, massive potential for people. And yet, no one discusses it. They just skip over, go unstructured, see you next year. Oh, time to turn on. It's time to get ready for my Ironman, half Ironman, marathon, whatever it is. And so the cycle continues. We're smashing that. This is a critical component. In fact, for me, this is the most important component. We focus on it in off-season, and then we aim to focus as much as we can while we're up in the work throughout the course of the year. And so that's what off-season in a nutshell is.